Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be about the shooting that occurred down in Florida where a deputy killed an active duty Air Force member named Roger Forston. The reason that we're talking about this today and the reason why it's making national news is because race baiting attorney Ben Crump decided to make it so. The headline that you're seeing right here is the headline that was spread across the nation and caused a lot of people to go ahead and jump to conclusions about what happened, because Ben Crump immediately, as soon as he hears a story about a black person being killed by police, goes out there and starts spreading lies with hope that the lie that he spreads will actually outweigh the truth when the truth finally comes out. Gets a lot of people up in arms, and what he is doing is actually it's very dangerous, and it gets a lot of people hurt, particularly a lot of police officers. But the headline, as you can see right here, it says Florida deputy who fatally shot U.S. airman burst into the wrong apartment, according to Ben Crump. So according to Ben Crump, police officers were dispatched to a call of a disturbance. They went to the wrong apartment. They then kicked in the door and shot an innocent young black man who was doing absolutely nothing wrong. Why would the police do this? Because they're racist. That is the story that attorney Ben Crump wants everyone to believe. Well, now it's been a couple of days and the body camera footage has been released, and we're going to go ahead and watch that body camera footage here in just a moment, and we'll see if the body camera footage supports or refutes the claim that attorney Ben Crump is making, and we'll see what the effect of that is going to be going forward. So without further ado, I've got the body camera footage for you coming up. I'll tell you that I edited the footage, so I made it a little bit shorter. I took out some of the dead space, left what I believe is only the most relevant parts of the body camera. I'm not going to show the deputy actually firing his weapon, and I'm not going to be showing images of this young man being shot, and I'm not going to be showing images of his body after the fact. So this should be safe for everyone to view. This is for news and informational purposes only. Let's get to the body camera footage now.
What's going on? I'm not sure. I just was told to let her know if you guys come by. Okay. So I'm going to give her a quick call and let you guys know. Okay. Let her know that.
So there was a fight going on or something?
I was not present for that.
Okay. Are they fighting or something?
Saying that it happens frequently.
Okay.
But this time it sounded like it was getting out of hand.
Okay, which store?
So I'm not sure. 2 weeks ago I was walking by their apartment basically on this side, and I was hearing someone yell like "shut the f*** up," like "you stupid B word" and all this other stuff, and I heard a slap right after it, but I wasn't sure where it came from. Okay. And I couldn't call, I didn't want to call the police, and
Which room is it?
1401.
1401, okay.
1401. But the girl sounded scared, the one that called. She said, she was like, it sounds like it's getting really out of hand.
So it's hit number 4, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. You do me a favor, we stand out there and direct the deputy that's coming to this area?
It's not, you're going to go up to the fourth floor and it's going to be on this side.
Gotcha. Sheriff's office, open the door! Sheriff's office, open the door! Step out. Drop the gun!
Alrighty, so now that we have seen the body camera footage, you can tell me, was this a case where a deputy burst into the wrong apartment and shot this young, innocent black man for no reason other than being black and due to police incompetence. We've all seen the video now, and we know that is absolutely not what happened. As we go down through this, it's very clear to me what the officers were, or the deputies were, responding to, and that they were in fact in the right place. I guess I should go ahead and pull up a picture of the apartment complex, and I'll put that over here right now. The deputies arrived on scene and they spoke to witnesses and callers about what was going on. They were then directed to apartment number 1401. The first part of Ben Crump's statement was that they burst into the wrong apartment and killed this airman. Let me see. This right here. This image right here proves that the deputies were not at the wrong apartment. They were told to go to apartment 401 on the 4th floor. They went to apartment 401 on the 4th floor, and they were greeted by, see, I've got it right here. This is what the deputies were greeted by. So if you're a police officer or a deputy or a law enforcement officer and you're responding to a call of domestic violence, the apartment manager told the deputy that this happens all the time. They've been doing it frequently. I heard something like this occur somewhat recently, but I couldn't figure out exactly where it was coming from. Today, their neighbor called and said that it sounded like it was getting incredibly violent. They thought they heard a slap, which caused them to call the police. The police arrive on scene. They go up. The first thing that the deputy does is he gives the door a listen for a little bit. I couldn't really tell what he was hearing. Maybe he was hearing the guy yelling and screaming on his phone. It wasn't really clear to me. The kid then asks who it is and says something about the police are at the door. That's when the deputy bangs on the door again and says, "Sheriff's Department, open the door," making it absolutely clear to anybody inside who was at the door. That's when this young man comes to the door with a pistol in his hand. The deputy draws his pistol, shoots this young man. Young man unfortunately ends up dying as a result. Now we're going to get into the analysis of whether or not this is a legally justified shooting, which I believe 100% it is. There's a lot of elements to the reason why it is, and we have to remember when judging these things, we have to consider whether a reasonable officer who was in that deputy's shoes at that moment in time would have made the same decision, or would a reasonable officer believe that that was the appropriate thing to do. There's a lot of reasons why it was the appropriate thing to do. There were multiple calls, multiple witnesses saying that there was potentially a woman being assaulted in this apartment. Domestic violence assaults often end tragically with one party killing the other party. As a police officer, we have witnessed this many times. People who are domestic violence perpetrators, they don't often want to go willingly. And I would say, I should pull up the statistics. I'm sure that they're out there. But when it comes to police officer assaults, a very large number of police officer assaults and police officer deaths occur when responding to calls about domestic violence, because this guy's in there beating on his woman. Police arrive. He wants to exert his authority. He doesn't think that he should be held accountable for his actions, and he takes it out on the police officers when they arrive. That's happened multiple times throughout history, and it happened in Westerville a couple years ago. 2 Westerville police officers were killed while approaching a house on a domestic violence call. So officers already know that there's a lot of danger when responding to a call of domestic violence. You then have a man inside who acknowledges that the police are outside, comes to the door with a gun in his hand. What are you supposed to believe is going to happen when you're a police officer and someone who knows you're the police and has potentially just committed an act of domestic violence opens the door with a gun in his hand? This is the part where we go into action versus reaction, as well as the elements that a police officer has in order to protect his own life, and the circumstances when deadly force is necessary. And this is what I want to talk about: reaction time and the things that you can use to increase your reaction time. If you don't have all of these elements, then you have to act very, very quickly. You know, I talk about these on the channel a lot, and I talked about it recently where that officer shot that 15-year-old kid that was playing with a firearm. You know, you have to think about distance, barrier, cover, safety, concealment, all of these things. If I'm a police officer and there's an armed person and they're 50 yards away from me and they're just walking with a gun in their hand, even if they're a dangerous person, and if there's nobody else around them, it's a secluded area, we might try to negotiate with that person. We might try to use less than lethal tactics. There's some things that we might do. If that person is inside their home and they're not at the door and we're outside the door and we've got a bunker and that person's just standing there with a gun in their hand, we might give that person a little bit more time. We might try to do some negotiating. If there are other options available, meaning, you know, and these are the when to use less lethal tactics when you're facing somebody with a deadly weapon, whether it be a knife or a firearm. You know, do you have cover? Do you have backup? Do you have lethal force backup? If you have lethal force backup, you might attempt to use non-lethal force. That's where, I mean, these are incredibly rare situations, but you might see someone that's holding a gun, just defiantly holding a gun. You might see them get hit with a beanbag round or something. And if they still don't drop the gun, then there might be lethal force applied. In a situation like this, where you're standing toe to toe, the deputy was no further away than from the suspect than my camera is right now. You don't have any of those other options. And also, it's not the deputy's fault that he was placed in that situation. There's no place to go. We're on an upstairs hallway. There's a wall on the other side of the officer. There was no place for him to retreat. If the deputy, tried to retreat, you know, we saw the hallway, and I don't remember if it's on this picture or not. Not really, but you can kind of get an idea. This was a long, narrow hallway. There was nowhere for that deputy to go. If he tried to retreat, he would have been in what we call the fatal funnel. And I mean, he's in the fatal funnel right now in the doorway, but if he retreated, he still would have been in that fatal funnel. And then that gunman, if he meant him harm, would have actually been in an advantageous position where he could have taken up cover against the deputy, where he could have basically just had his weapon and part of his face out the window, and he could have started popping off rounds, putting the deputy and the rest of the public's lives in danger. At the end of the day, did this man mean harm to the deputy? We will never know. But he made a very poor decision. And I'm also curious why he came to the door with a gun. A lot of people are saying, you know, he didn't know it was a deputy with the gun. He didn't hear the deputy yell sheriff's department, even though the deputy yelled sheriff's department incredibly loud, saying that the deputy stood away from the door. So when he looked out the peephole and didn't see a police officer, he thought maybe somebody was there to attack him. That's what people are trying to say occurred. But my question is, if you were just involved in a very, very loud, potentially violent argument with your girlfriend, and it was loud enough and violent enough that the police were called, if somebody comes and knocks on your door, why is the first thing in your mind that, oh, this might be a dangerous person? In my mind, it makes me believe that potentially his girlfriend was coming back or something. And why would you come to the door with a firearm if your girlfriend was coming back? Unless she has a brother or something in the area that came after this guy assaulted the sister, you know, then you're thinking, okay, I just beat up this girl and there's a dude coming to take out revenge. I better go to the door with a gun. None of these things are good options. If you're not sure that the police are at your door, and I've covered this on the channel before, if someone's knocking on your door and saying it's the police and you don't feel safe opening your door, you can call 911. You can call 911. You can ask the dispatch center, hey, someone's knocking on my door saying it's the police. Are there any police in the area? Do I have a reason to be concerned? You know, I've been in that situation multiple times where people say, I don't believe you're the police. I'll say, go ahead and call the dispatcher. They'll tell you that I'm here. I will patiently wait outside the door for that to happen. Or I've actually walked in front of windows, trying to flashlight on myself, all of these things in order to put people's mind at ease that it is in fact the police. If you think that the police are at your door, or if there's even a chance that the police are at your door, you do not go to your door while holding a firearm. And you have to remember that action beats reaction. if you're a police officer and you're in very close proximity with somebody that's holding a firearm in their hand and your firearm is in your holster, you don't want to take the chance that they're going to be able to get that firearm up and start getting rounds out before you're able to draw and fire your weapon. You also, and this is something that we're actually drilled on and taught at the academy, this is the action versus reaction drill. He's already got a gun in his hand. You go to draw your weapon, you better be ready to start putting rounds on target, because if you're not, you're going to have rounds coming towards you. This case is another perfect example of, officers are put in impossible positions and they're forced to make impossible choices. If the officer chose and did the wrong choice in this particular case, we could have very well had a dead police officer. Unfortunately, the person that made the poor decision is this young man that came to the door with a gun in his hand, and he is now a dead citizen because the police officer was forced to take action and protect himself. At the end of the day, it's really unfortunate that people like Ben Crump exist, and that before the actual story is out, before the actual evidence is out, before the whole situation is out, we have him out there spreading lies and getting people riled up. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, people are more likely to believe the lie than they are to believe the truth. I think that's it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.